So an old video resurfaced of a guy named Dan Pena, and he was standing around his Christmas tree. Some of you may have saw this. He was standing around his Christmas tree, and he was bragging about all the presents. He had over 200 presents under his tree. He was bragging about all the presents he had under the tree and saying to the people, if you don't have presents like that, then you're just a peasant, is basically the gist of what he was saying. I was going to show the video, and then I decided against it because I realize this Christmas is going to be tough for a whole lot of people out there, and the last thing I want to do is add any more stress to anyone. But if you want to look it up, you can. The guy's name is Dan Pena, P-E-N-A. I really don't care if I'm saying it correctly. But I fell down into a rabbit hole of watching his videos, and when I did, it was just an over-the-top version of like Trump on steroids. If you think Trump or Elon Musk is egotistical, this guy's off the charts. He blows them both away. To the point that I almost thought for a minute, am I watching satire here? Is this some kind of joke? There's no way this guy is real. Because it almost reminded me of the old skits that the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase used to do on the WWF way back in the day. He would come out there and say, everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man, and he would pay off the referees. And then he would have somebody come out and do something for money. I remember one time he had a kid come out and bounce a basketball. And he told him if he could bounce it 10 or 20 times, however many it was, he said, I'll give you $100 bill. So the kid comes out, starts bouncing the ball, and the $1 Million Man's counting. And right as he gets to 10 or however many it was, he kicks the ball and it's like, ha, 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 ha. No one can, be as good as me and won't give the kid the money. And it was just an over-the-top, ridiculous heel character that the guy played, and that's how this Dan Pena guy came off in his videos. It was just one video after another of him belittling people and talking about how that he don't know how anyone can't just come up with 20 grand back when he had no money at all. He could just pull 20 grand out of his ass. But those videos really got me to thinking about the mentality of these rich people and the mentality of poor people who root stuff like that on. It really got me to thinking a whole lot about how we've sat here for so long and we've tried to talk to people and say, hey, these people don't care about you. You're voting against your own interest. They're laughing at you. They're talking down to you. And again, I thought about showing the clips and decided not to because I would rather just talk straight to people. These rich people like this don't care about you. They're never going to. They're only going to use you to try to get ahead in this world. And they're going to laugh at you every step of the way. Behind closed doors, they're going to laugh at you every step of the way. They're not people who would hang out with you. They're not people who would ever sit down with you. And they sure as hell aren't people who would ever struggle the way that you have. And they haven't struggled the way that you have. Now, I know there's people out there hearing me say these things like, Brando, these people are never going to listen to you. They're never going to listen to you. You might as well give up now. You're beating a dead horse here. It's never going to happen. But I really believe that the way you win an argument is to state your case and you bring the evidence, you bring the receipts, you show people what people have said, you show people what they have done. You may not win the argument right away. I really believe this. You may not win the argument right away. But what you do is you plant seeds. I think back to times when I was in an argument with someone and it got heated. Did I admit right then and there that they got the better of me? No, not in the moment. There was no way that I would admit it immediately. But I went away and I thought about it long and hard, what had been said to me. And the more I thought about it and the more I looked around, the more I was able to see that my argument didn't hold water. So there's been many times in my life that I've came around, but I didn't come around in that instant. I didn't come around right away. And I don't believe that people will either. Especially after this election, I definitely don't think that people will. Right now, they're flexing because they all think they've won. And we're sitting back here going, no, wait a minute, you ain't won nothing. Your grocery bill's not going to be any cheaper. Times are still going to be hard. Times are probably going to be even harder for you. And you got these rich people sitting back laughing at you, mocking you. They can't realize, they can't understand why you can't come up with 20 grand. They can't understand why you can't have 200 presents under the tree. And you would think that if someone saw someone like that mocking them, that would turn them around, but not necessarily, not right away. It's not going to happen immediately. But I do believe as time goes on, people will look back and wake up. And when they do, they may never give us the credit for it. They may always find a way to remain mad at us because we made them feel stupid. And that's the thing that they're always going to have a harder time with. But I just wish people would really stop and pause before they start cheering on these billionaires and millionaires and self-proclaimed trillionaires, and realize that these people are using you and manipulating you and would not have anything whatsoever to do with you. I sat back and I heard people talk about the wealthy and talk about, when I was growing up, it was different. It seemed like that more people around here, didn't like the highfalutin people. But as time went on, the highfalutin people found a way to manipulate poor people to cheer them on and be for them. And it's something that's been pretty hard for me to watch because of the way that I was brought up. I was brought up in a small town in southeast Kentucky, home of Lee Majors. And his real name was Harvey Urey. I remember where his mom lived. But anyway, not that I knew her. But anyway, I grew up in that small town. My dad worked 2 jobs. He would drive a coal truck during the day, and then he would guard the mines at night. And my family still stood in cheese lines. That was during the Reagan years. And I just remember as we grew up, I remember Bill Clinton getting in office, and suddenly I remember the economy turning around and things suddenly taking a turn. And I remember realizing that all of that bullshit that Ronald Reagan talked was just that. All that patriotism and all that moral majority bullcrap was just that. I began to see through it, and I also began to see through that when these people put on a face and put on some sort of front that they cared about us, that really they were just using and manipulating us. I've told this story on the channel before, but I remember a time when my uncle, I went to my uncle who was a Democrat. And at the time, both my grandfathers were Republicans, and I was still trying to figure out, where I belonged in the world. And I was a kid, literally a kid when this happened. But I remember seeing Lamar Alexander walk across Tennessee in a flannel shirt and a pair of jeans. And I was like, well, he's talking morals and values. And I was like, hey, that guy's one of us. He's wearing a flannel and a pair of jeans like me. And I went to my Uncle Brad and I told him about him. And he's like, you really think that guy cares about you? And I was like, well, yeah, he's got on a flannel and a pair of jeans. Why wouldn't he? He's like, because that's the only time he put on that flannel and pair of jeans was to make that commercial to dupe you into thinking he gives a damn about you. He said, let's go take a look at his voting record. And I remember him going and finding his voting record on the things he had voted for and against. And suddenly I realized that he had voted for making rich people richer and voted against people like us. I realized that he was not what he said he was. And I remember that moment, how angry I was as a kid when my uncle pointed that out to me. I remember being angry then. But Donald Trump found a way to dupe everyone into thinking he cares. So if I were to show them the clip of the dude mocking everyone around his Christmas tree, they'd probably just laugh at it. Oh, yeah, that guy's got some balls, man. I don't care. But me, I'm not that type of person. I'm the type of person that's going to see something like that and realize I'm being talked down to and realize I'm being played, and I'm going to want nothing to do with it. And so hopefully as time goes on, more and more people will begin to see through that these rich people do not care about you. And if you sit and watch someone like that enough and see how they mock and belittle, and then remember Trump standing there at Mar-a-Lago saying, yeah, I'm going to give you guys the biggest tax break. You'll get the biggest one ever. They were all laughing at us behind closed doors. They're all laughing at us around their Christmas trees. And there's no reason why any of us should think that they give a damn about us. They truly don't. So again, I thought about showing the videos, and then I thought, you know what? I really don't want to give this guy any time. If people wants to see it, they can see it themselves. But I want to talk about how these people don't care. And I want to keep driving that point home. Because somewhere, yes, there's trolls listening to these videos, and they're laughing, and they think that they've one-upped us and owned the libs for the moment. But somewhere in their family is someone going, yeah, that Brando guy made sense on that one. Or, yeah, that Luke Beasley kid, he made a lot of sense right there. And that's what we got to keep doing. We just got to keep putting this stuff out there. We may not win the argument immediately, but eventually people will wake up if we plant enough seeds. I really do believe that. And I appreciate you guys so much for hanging with me here on the channel. We're about to cross over 500,000 subscribers, and I'm truly grateful for each and every one of you. I hope everyone out there has a great holiday season, whatever you celebrate. I hope you have a good one. And we'll just keep putting in the work, and we'll keep planting those seeds. And it may not feel like we're winning at first, But in time, I really believe we can. I do believe that better days are ahead of us.